If Then.
Balancing Act correspondent Amber Milt recently sat down with the creative team behind this new contemporary musical to talk real life, real people, and what it takes to introduce an original musical to audiences.
That's right, ladies. It's an ambitious and fascinating story about the intersection of choice and chance and how we balance that and the life we live.
I'm amazed he somehow found her. I'm amazed that she gave in.
Brian, tell us a little bit about the basic storyline of If Then.
Sure. If Then is the story of a woman in her late 30s. She's returning to New York City to sort of start over. And the show follows two different possible tracks that her life might take from her first day in New York. She makes one sort of seeming insignificant choice and her life veers off in two completely different directions. And so the show follows both of those directions over a period of some years.
It took years for Yorkie, along with his collaborator-composer Tom Kitt and director Michael Greif, the Pulitzer Prize and Tony Award-winning team behind Next to Normal, to bring If Then to the stage, a very personal story for both.
That's good. I came to New York to find my life, and I really did, both in finding Brian to write musicals with, and also I found my wife at Columbia. I wonder what would have happened to my life if I hadn't been there at that time. I certainly wasn't. It's gratifying and comforting and wonderful to have this, again, this group of collaborators that continue to challenge me and support me and help me to tell the stories that I want to tell.
The show reflects the sensibilities of modern audiences with its contemporary approach and attitude.
It's a sign.
Because it's contemporary, because it uses language that people use but not necessarily always makes it onto the stage, and because it's about the concerns of a certain character, but I also knew that the people for whom it resonated, it would resonate very strongly because it was very much about the way we live our lives today.
New York City acts as a central character in this unique story about fate, random connection, and the sense of possibility which makes city life so interesting.
You could turn one corner or the other, run into someone, meet someone, see something that changes your life. It seemed to us that cities were especially full of that kind of possibility, especially New York City.
The music is incredible, and it drives the emotion of the story and really creates that energy, that kinetic energy of a city.
Since its Broadway debut last year, the show has garnered several Tony nominations, including one for Best Score, and it strikes a chord with the talented, award-winning actors who originated the roles. It was so awesome to get to see you rehearse and to hear you sing. What an incredible voice you have.
Thank you.
Can you tell us a little bit about what it's like to play Kate?
Kate is one of the best characters I've ever played. It's a lot of fun. She's ambitious and optimistic and just loves life. She's that person that you have in your life that no matter what happens, they find a way to see the good in it. That's Kate.
To me, the show is so much about the ripple effects of life. The tiniest little pebble can make huge changes in anyone's life. And I get to live out both of those situations.
James Snyder originated the role of Josh on Broadway.
Oh, here I go.
It's a play about choices, but really about how we react to those choices. It's coincidence almost that I'm married to my wife and how I met her and all of that crazy thing. If Then is about embracing wherever you're at now and appreciating those choices behind you, but realizing that in this moment you have a choice to be your best self and your most authentic self and to take that forward.
Now, all of us can relate to the heart of the show, which reminds us to love and accept the things we have in life. Those chances of fate that become our own if-then moments. For me, it happened about 6 years ago. I was working on a story about the Philly fanatic, and the producer at the time said, "Hey, I know this crazy Phillies fan. Would you mind if he came into the edit room to see the piece before it goes to air?" I said, "Sure, why not?" This guy comes in, we get to talking, and wouldn't you know it, a few years later, that crazy Phillies fan became the man that I married.
A quick if-then moment? Yes, when I met my husband, who is no longer with us, but we both got our hair cut at the same barber. And had I not chosen that barber and gave him my black and white 8x10 to hang up in his salon, then my late husband would not have seen my picture and found me on the street later on and asked me, hey, is your picture hanging up in it? Is this his hair salon?
In 1994, I was a young actor living in New York. I was really struggling. I'd had some minor success to that point, but I was in a really low point. I'd gotten very close to some big jobs in that year that had I gotten those jobs, I wouldn't have been working at Starbucks, available to audition for this little workshop, this little musical that I'd never heard of called Rent. And then, of course, getting that job made all the difference in my life.
If Then is intentionally thought-provoking.
One of the things that Brian and Tom do so beautifully in their writing is they explore the complexities and the subtleties of our lives, and they ask more questions than necessarily provide answers. They just ask us to think about our lives in ways that we might not.
I hope that people will look at their own lives and think about where they are and feel empowered to keep making bold and decisive choices about the lives they want to live.
I'm a pretty avid poker player. Poker is like so many great games, it's a metaphor for life, you know. It's about responding to whatever comes your way. And, you know, yes, of course you have to try to make the right choice or the best choice, but still, even when you do that, crazy things can happen.
The dreams we might have made.
Anticipation is high as the first national tour launches.
Yeah, that's great.
The expectations are really just hopes and dreams about getting to sit with different audiences in different cities and feel what they are getting out of the piece.
Because I look forward to finding new moments in these new cities with these great new audiences, so I'm excited about it.